Hi friends, welcome back to our channel Total-QA. In our channel we already uploaded multiple videos and we have categorized into different playlists. Go through them and get all the required knowledge and try to let me know if you have any queries. You can try to update in the comment section in each and every video. I can reply to that. So now in today's video we are going to discuss about how are we going to test web services using SOAPUI. So before going to learn that topic, first let's understand what is a web service. A web service is a method which communicates between two electronic devices over the network via World Wide Web. It's a method like a Java method. In Java method, definitely we are going to call the method having some parameters. And method is doing some activity. The same example here also will be applicable. This is a method, but it communicates between two electronic devices over the network via World Wide Web. How to test web services? Web services can be tested via JMeter and SOAPUI. Both will be useful to test the web services, but JMeter is mainly scripted using Java language and Groovy language. Here also SOAPUI also mainly useful to scripted using Groovy language. Both will be useful to test the web services. Where we find the information about the web services? Web services is mainly depends upon the WSDL. Suppose I wanted to test set of web services. Where can we find this information? The information of the web services will be found in the WSDL. The WSDL stands for Web Service Description Language. It's same as XML file. It provides a basic information about the services. So if you wanted to test web services, the input that is required for us to test the web services is part of the WSDL. What are the different operations and what we have to test? It's part of the WSDL. So that's what I mentioned here. WSDL contains the following information. So mainly WSDL contains operations such as input and output for this operation, and the endpoint. It's always important. What is the endpoint of the WSDL? The endpoint is having a question mark in the end. You see here, this is the URL, and if you try to put question mark WSDL, you get to know what are all the operations which are part of this WSDL. You can get all the information about the WSDL. Okay, so let's look into this WSDL right now, Web Services Description Language, to understand the WSDL before we go ahead and focus on SOAPUI. Let me take this URL now. This is the graphical weather.government URL. Let me copy this, open the browser. Let me put this URL. So when we put this URL, we're getting some information here. Okay, so it is taking some time to fetch the information now here. Let me try to do one thing. Let me put, I think, yes, we got the information. It took some time and has given information for us. So if you look at here, these are all the operations, or these are all the services which are provided by the graphical.weather.government. Okay, it's a national defense weather, it's a national weather service mainly. This is the URL we are using to understand the list of operations provided by this WSDL. But if you want to understand the WSDL which is provided by this, you can put here, say question mark WSDL. Question mark and provide WSDL. So the website is having the information of all the operations, but if you want to see the contents of the WSDL, we just need to provide question mark WSDL, right? So we get to know the information of the WSDL. WSDL is in a XML file format. So for automating, for writing manual test cases, before we start, we need to thoroughly understand the WSDL. So what is the content of the WSDL? WSDL is having a lot of operations. Let's find out the operations tag. Just scroll down, you will find the operations tag. Slowly scroll down. You will find the operations tag, then you can stop there to understand the operations. Okay, here there are different operations are available. Operation name is NDFD Gen, National Weather Service Digital Weather Forecast Data. And there is one more operation here. There is another operation, latitude, longitude, subgrid, latitude, longitude, list line. There are a lot of operations are available. Let's take one example. If you look into this operation, the operation name is corner points, right? And what is the input? The input is corner points request. What is the output? Corner points response. So these two are the inputs. These two are mainly related to the input and output messages for SOAP UI, mainly for the WSDL request, which is corner points operation. So let me copy this. What is this input? It's a corner points request. Just copy after the colon, Control C, then Control F and find this corner points request. Just try to start with the first one. Yes. The message name is corner points request. The input data is a string. We need to pass the input data as a string. Okay. Similarly, let me go to the second one. This is the input message. Similarly, try to do the same thing for the output message. Copy this and try to put the information here to understand what is its response. This response is also of type string and the name is list latitude longitude out. So this is how we need to understand what is the operation name, what is the input request, what is the input message type, what is the output message type. The input message type and the output message type is string. We are getting a response as a string of the corner points response. So this is the operation we are going to test in SOAP UI. Okay, so this is a National Digital Forecast Database and the operation which we are going to test is the corner points. Let's try to go to this URL and try to select corner grid points. Select this radar button, click on submit. You see here there are different values that we have to pass. Equinus, Alaska, Guam, Hawaii and Puerto and Neptune. Let's click on submit here. And we get the response. So this is the same request, the SOAP UI. This is the same request, the same operation we are going to test in WSDL right now in SOAP UI. Okay, so you can just refer to this link. I'll share this link in the description of this video. You can select this. You can try any of the web service to understand how this works. When you select the radar button, you get different values and click on submit to get the response back. Now, this is the introduction about web services. So, our main focus area before we test web services is WSDL. Try to get all the required information, gather the information from WSDL. Then we have to start focusing on testing web services using SOAP UI. Next point here, SOAP UI. So in order to use SOAP UI, first we have to download the SOAP UI. To download the SOAP UI, we can access this URL. Let me copy this and open this URL. And here, when you try to access this URL, we have two different versions, SOAPUI Pro and SOAPUI Open Source. SOAPUI Pro requires some licensing. It is not open source, but SOAPUI Open Source is free. Anybody can download this and use for SOAPUI testing, REST API testing, WSDL coverage, Assertions, largest online API testing. But it doesn't provide data generator, pre-built test assertion, GraphQL API testing. These are all not required for understanding. Mainly, we can focus on testing SOAP UI for SOAP API testing, REST API testing, and WSDL coverage and scripted assertions. So right now, I selected SOAPUI Open Source to download the SOAP UI Open Source in my laptop. And the version right now, if you look into this version, the version is 5.6.0, which is the latest version. When you click on this download SOAP UI Open Source, the version is 5.6.0. So download the SOAP UI Open Source. The latest version is 5.6.0. Once you download SOAP UI in your laptop, run the software as administrator. Always make sure whenever we install the software, you have to run as administrator only. Right click, run as administrator. Then it will install in this specific location. Program files. SmartBear is a company. Under this folder, you will find SOAPUI 5.6.0. As I said earlier, the language that is used is Groovy. Definitely, we are going to focus on Groovy scripting. In the next video, we are going to parameterize the same request with multiple sets of data using Groovy scripting that we are going to cover in the next video. And right now, we are going to start creating a new project for testing WSDL or SOAP. What is SOAP? SOAP is a simple object access protocol. For WSDL, SOAP is a protocol. For WSDL, the SOAP is a protocol. We call SOAP as a protocol for testing web services, and SOAP stands for Simple Object Access Protocol. So we are going to create a new project in SOAP here right now. I opened my SOAP UI. I'm going to create a new project now. File, create a SOAP project. When I select SOAP project, it shows the information as create. Let me place a mouse over. Create a new WSDL or SOAP based web service project in the workspace. Okay, let's select this. Now the project name we will give as, the project name is, mainly we are testing NDFD, right? So National Weather Service, mainly we select this as NDFD. It's a National Digital Forecast Database. Let's take NDFD. Provide the project name as NDFD. Say mention WSDL testing. Okay, NDFD National WSDL, and we have to provide the initial WSDL. So where do we get the initial WSDL? As I said here, this is our initial WSDL. We have to copy. Okay, wherever the WSDL has a question mark WSDL, we have to copy this information. Then Control C, this is our WSDL endpoint. Go here, provide this information. Now, we have to create a request for all the operations. This is very important. We need to create a sample request for all the operations, and we have to select Testsuite. Why do we need to use Testsuite? Testsuite is required to execute the operations. So select these two checkboxes now. Select this checkbox and click on OK. Just wait for a few seconds. It will load all the operations and creates a Testsuite as well here. And also we are asking, create one test case for each operation. Yes, it is important that we have to create one test case for each operation and also create a new empty request. Select this and don't select this option. This is for load testing. This is not required to be selected. We are testing only functionality of the web services. Don't select this checkbox. Then after that, click on OK. Then the Testsuite name. What is the Testsuite name we can create? We can say NDFD Testsuite. Just give the NDFD Testsuite where we can execute the test cases. Click on OK. Now, if you look into this project, the project name, you can identify the properties of the project here in the bottom here. The project name is this, and also you can find the properties, custom properties. I will add afterwards, but you can see the project name is this, and let's select the suite name. This is our suite name, and you can find all the operations, and each and every operation has a test case now. So as I said, our objective is to test the corner points. For testing the corner points, what we need? For testing the corner points, we need to know the input data. Right now, the input data we are passing is corners. Let's copy this corners right now. Keep it with us. Corners, CONUS. Let's go to the SOAP UI. Select test case. Select the test case, or let's do one thing. Expand the test steps. Just focus on the corner points. Just focus on the corner points within the test steps. Okay, and you can see the endpoint information here, and you can see the name here. So you can find all the information in the test request properties. This is a test request properties. This is a test request properties, the operation name we are testing is corner points. Corner points. Let's try to do one thing. Double click on the corner points. Double click on the corner points. Now, say maximize. So this is our request. You can check this request. Let me copy this in a notepad again to get some idea. This is a request. If you see the request, it is expecting to pass a input value. This is a header. Header is blank. This is a SOAP env body, and in the body you need to pass the value. Between this tag names there is a question mark. So this is our input data. The input data, as I said already, it is corners. Let me try to put corners here, and I'll copy this content. It's not required to copy the content, but we have written it here. Let me paste the information here. This is corners. And you can look out the URL. This is the URL. Okay. But in this URL, we are testing the corner points is our operation name. Okay. Now, once we are done, we have to select or we have to execute the operation by selecting this button. Let me click on that execute button. Click on the execute button. See the output now. So once we execute this, let me click on, I just clicked on navigator right now. Guys, if you wanted to minimize the navigator, you can click on this navigator. If you want to maximize or minimize, just do that. Navigator here, right? This section, so that you get to see what is the request, what is the response. Now, this is the request, we sent it. This is the response, we got it. This we called as a response. Here, the response, we got the information here. And also, few things we can check. If you scroll down here, you can see the header information. There are different headers, response headers, we got it. We can see the information here. Okay, you can see the content type, we got it, content length, we got it. Status, if you see, the status is 200, the response status is 200. You can see all the response headers. And also you can see the raw as well. Click on the raw, you get to know this information. The HTTP response code is 200. You can see this information here. Either XML file, this will give the response data, but this will give the response headers here in the SOAP UI. So this is how you test the SOAP, test the web services using SOAP UI. Now, how do we validate this data? Whether the response is coming as expected or not. So to test this web service, whether the response is coming as expected or not, we have to insert the assertions right now. For assertions, let's do one thing. Click on the navigator. Let's try to keep it side by side. So here you see there is a plus, right? You can see the plus mark, which will help you to insert an assertion here. We have to click on this plus to insert the assertion to validate whether we are getting the response as expected or not. Let me click on that. So we are going to create a property content. The property content means, suppose we can say whether this response contains. Let's look into the response now. We already tested this service outside, or else we can just click on submit and see whether we are getting the response or not. In the response, we can check whether the response contains this information. Let's copy this entire information. This is our expected. We will try to put here, we're waiting for this response is coming or not. Click on OK. See now what happened? When I scroll up, let me try to scroll up. Let me see here the assertions. You see the assertions here? This is contains is valid. The contains is valid. The contains is valid. Similarly, you can add one more assertion also. Suppose for example, we can add assertions here. Let me show you the assertion here. We can put even status code, whether 200 or not, we can check. Valid HTTP status codes, click on add, just put 200. See here, 200 is happening. So this is the way we can validate whether we're getting response or not. We can even check, let's put question mark here and try to execute here. This is getting failed. Why this is getting failed? Because this is a missing token here, and the valid status HTTP codes, it is 200, but we are getting 500 as a response. We can check. We didn't get the response here. It's a bad input sector here. The response, it's a bad input sector, and also the question mark is available here. It shows clearly the output is not coming as expected, and you can check the raw here. What is the response code? The response code is 500, which is internal server error. That is the reason these assertions are getting failed. So it's important, we need to put the assertions to make sure the test cases are working as expected in the case of SOAPUI to validate the response. So this is how you can try to test any service, or any operation here. You can check. There are so many operations available. You can test any operation. Only thing is, what is the input data we have to pass? We have to access via this URL. This URL will give you the information what data you have to pass. Then you can test any service. Suppose, for example, you want to test this service, you can try to pass this data and try to execute whether it is working as expected or not. So grid points for subgrid, you can pass these values, or grid points for NDFD cities. Suppose, for example, grid point for NDFD cities, the value is 12 here. Let me copy this. Let me try to test this as well. And just click on submit as a front to see what is the response in the website. So we are getting this response, right? So let's try to test this as well. Which one it is? It is NDFD, grid points for NDFD. Let me go here. Grid points for NDFD. We can check the request actually. You can just click on it and just see grid points for NDFD. You can even check. Let's see which one is this by day. We can just click on it and see NDFD grid points for NDFD. That is available or not. We have to see grid points for NDFD subgrid. So what is the operation name here? The grid points for NDFD is cities level. So city information. Let's see the grid points for NDFD. Lat list grid point and input lat-long list city names. Is this available here? Let's see. Yes, it is available here. Try to put list city name. Yes, I think this is the one we have to. Let me close all the operations which are not required, because when you click on it, it will open this here in the window. Let's close all of them. Just open what is required. Yes. So here, as expected, lat-long list city names. Let's give 12. Try to execute this and see now whether we're getting response. Yes, we're getting the response. List lat-long out. List lat-long out. Okay, you can even see here the request. The operation name is lat-long list city names. You can check lat-long city names, and also we're getting the response as lat-long list city names response. You can see this is the request. Is this request is matching here? Check. Yes, it is matching with the request. What is the response? List lat-long out. Check. Is it available? See, this is the response. Let me check the response here. Okay, let's try to do one thing. We'll just remove the colon and try to see this is coming or not. Yes, you see here. List lat-long out. This is the response and it contains this information. So it's very important to understand what is the input, what is the output message in a WSDL. In our case, if you look into this, what is important for us is the operation name. What is the message, the request, and the response. And also what is important here for us is to understand what is the type. What is the type? If you look into this, the type, the message name, and the part name and the type all are important. This also we can find out in the response. So we get the response, and also we can create an assertion. Again, we can create an assertion. Suppose for example, if you want to create an assertion, again click on plus symbol here and try to select the content contains add. You can say that content Tulsa, because it shows the Tulsa here. If you look into this, the content contains Tulsa, and we can check and mark that as cases pass or fail. So click on OK. The assertion is pass. Similarly, we can add one more assertion for the response, the HTTP code, the valid HTTP code. You can scroll down. You have to scroll down, then only you will find. Click on add, just put 200. Okay, then you see both the assertions are working fine as expected. So this is how we have to test WSDL, the web services via SOAP UI, which is very easy to understand and learn testing web services in SOAP UI. So if you like my video, please subscribe and share. Thanks for watching our video. Thank you.